Hi there. How are you? Wait a minute.
So you know
better.
we're going to try.
And what do you church plan?
I've been there and I had nothing to do. I know. You know from negotiators.
He's married to a village and wants to be in town. They believe that their leverage is making this bill somehow include them getting that benefit. And so if they pull back this one, instead of making phase 1, phase 2, get to phase 2 and they're the same leverage.
This is Arbor Day in Rybrook 2014, and this is an annual event for us. We have received wonderful weather today, and we're blessed for that. Arbor Day really goes back to the 1870s. Just a real quick background on Arbor Day. Started in the 1870s when J. Sterling Morton started this concept. He was a pioneer from the Nebraska territory who became the editor of Nebraska's first newspaper. And he advocated tree plantings from individuals and civic groups, and that kind of sparked this idea of a concept of a national Arbor Day. And since 1970, Arbor Day has been celebrated across the nation on the last Friday in April. And it's become a tradition in Rybrook to celebrate Arbor Day and often to recognize some very special people in the community. And this year is certainly no exception. We have it's a very special day to recognize Ken and Andrea Berman and their memories, and they did so much for Rybrook. And we have a beautiful tree today and a really nice bench to add into our playground area, and we're very happy for all of that. Today we have a lot of officials here and a lot of friends and family, and thank you all for coming out. And now, without any delay, I'm going to introduce our mayor, Paul Rosenberg.
Thank you, Chris. Before I start some of the official proceedings, I just want to recognize a few people here. Obviously, the Berman family is here, Aline, and quite a bit of family in attendance as well. New York State Senator George Latimer is here. Assemblyman Steve Otis couldn't be here and sends his regrets, but Lauren Paterno is here from his office. We have current village board members Jason Klein, Susan Epstein, and David Heiser here. We have former Mayor Joan Feinstein, who will speak in a few minutes. Former trustee Rick Buzin, Toby Marrow, Nancy Tunis. I see from the Blindbrook School Board, Jeff Diamond is here, and former school board member Monroe Haas, and the Portchester clerk Giannis Richards. So thank you all for being here. Rybrook is proud to be designated as a Tree City USA for the 19th year. We are one of 103 municipalities in New York State, including 17 in Westchester County, to have this designation. In the last decade on Arbor Day, over a dozen trees have been planted, including beechwood trees, Coosa dogwoods, weeping cherries, purple leaf plum trees, a Yarwood London plant tree, a Peking lilac, a European purple beech, a hackberry tree, and an American elm and white oak trees. These trees have been planted at Beechwood Circle, Hills Point Lane, Garibaldi Park, the Rybrook Firehouse, Rye Hills Park, the Rybrook Athletic Fields at King Street, Village Hall, and Harkness Park. Over the past decade at Village Hall, trees have been planted in the memory of Donna Munich, Deacon Jack Munich, Ken Heller, Ron Romano, Paula Bertolacci, and Harvey Schiller. Last year, two trees were planted at Harkness Park in support of the families impacted by tragedies that occurred in 2012 in Newtown, Connecticut, and in 2013 at the Boston Marathon. This year, we are pleased to be planting a beautiful ivory silk Japanese lilac tree and installing a bench around the Pine Ridge Park and playground. This is certainly an appropriate way to honor and recognize such special people as Ken and his daughter Andrea Lynn Berman. It's such a beautiful day here. It's really bittersweet that we're here for such a great event, but we're also recognizing two people that were taken from us way too early. Ken and Andrea were both very special members of the Rybrook community. We're honored to recognize their impact on the village. Ken passed at the age of 72 less than 2 years ago on August 15th, 2012. He left behind the legacy of passion and community volunteerism, making a real difference in our community and the region. There was not one Rybrook birthday party where you would show up and you would not see Ken flipping burgers. Ken and Aline and their family were so involved in their community. from the facilities committee very, very early on, to Ken chairing Rybrook Together that Joan will speak about in a few minutes. It's just so sad that to lose two prominent members of this community at such an early age. Andrea passed 1 year later on August 16th, 2013. She was a very caring and generous person to all who's around her that she touched. Funds for these trees were donated by Sister Alice Conrad, who worked with Ken at the soup kitchen at the Grace Church Community Center and now heads the Shepherd's Flock, whose mission is to help the working poor. Funds for the bench and plaque were donated by members of Rybrook Together, who Ken led so well for many years to promote community volunteerism and leadership positions in Rybrook village government. And ever since Ken passed, at Rybrook Together meetings, it is just not the same without him. At this time, I'd like to call upon a few speakers to speak on behalf of, not only Rybrook Together, but themselves as friends of Ken and Andrea. First up will be David Heiser. Trustee David Heiser. Because we know he's very formal.
I'm nothing if not formal.
I need you to do me a favor, though. I would like you to hand these out, please.
Okay.
To the assembly classes.
Okay. This is David's idea.
I was asked to say a few words, as if I were capable of only saying a few words about Ken Berman. However, before I start, I thought it might be a good idea to do what Ken did before every meeting I ever attended with him. And so I brought some grapes and candy for everyone. After every Rybrook Facilities Committee meeting I attended, when Ken was its chair, I felt the need to go on a diet. One thing I can say is absolutely nothing is going to be helpful. When I started writing this, so many memories of Ken flooded into my brain. Thoughts of bow ties, cowboy hats, big watches, and courageous cars came to mind. But those were just surface things that were so much more. Ken was on KTI's board of trustees when I was president of the congregation. When we spoke at meetings, the other trustees listened, because they knew Ken was not the only man doing this. Whether he was a manufacturer, something needed to be done, Ken was usually one of the first to volunteer to do. Whether it was making potato pancakes in the synagogue kitchen, playing the synagogue barbecue, cooking eggs, performing his tasks on the synagogue barbecue, he truly loved it. It was no less so when the act was written. No matter how opposite the weather, or how demanding, just it was. Ken never lost his cool and never lost his smile. Ken and Aileen gave and gave and gave of themselves at the Grace Church Community Center Soup Kitchen. As with so many other causes, they did not simply donate money, but they donated something far more precious. They donated their time. As someone in the business, Ken knew that with the proper investments, you could recoup more money you donated, but you could never recoup lost time. But Ken did not see this as lost time. He saw volunteering as a way of enriching himself by enriching his community. He was really a unique person. I do not think that anyone who ever met him did not immediately like him. I believe that he forever changed every person who he touched for the better. Over the years, Ken and I would exchange jokes and other nonsense via email. I still have several Watchman 55 quips on my computer. And so when Ken called me one day about 2.5 years ago and asked me if I'd be willing to run for the Rybrook Board of Trustees, I initially thought he was joking. When I realized he was not, I could not say no to him. How could I say no to a man who gave unstintingly of himself to so many causes? Especially when he prefaced his inquiry with the following. David, now that you're no longer president of KTI and have lots of free time, I was honored to be asked to speak today. I know that if you were here, Ken would not enjoy all the fuss being made about him, but he would enjoy the fruit and the candy. One last thing, lest you think my admiration for Ken was unalloyed. He did, after all, have one serious character flaw. A flaw that I found extremely difficult to ignore whenever we spoke at length. A flaw that made me question all his positives. Sadly, Ken was a Mets fan. This colossal error in judgment only underscored his humanity.
I'm also willing to forgive Ken for that. Next, Joan Feinstein, former Mayor Feinstein.
Thank you so much. Actually, I'm standing in today for Rich Gutner, who is the chairperson of Rybrook Together. Rich couldn't be here today because he is on a personal trip out of town, and he asked me to read a personal statement from him. I think it's important to note that Rich Gutner is not only the chair of Rybrook Together, but a very special person to the Berman family. The Gutners and the Bermans are very close friends. They live across the street from each other right here. And I know that Rich wanted to speak this morning. I certainly cannot step in and be Rich because I'm a lot shorter. But he is here with us today in spirit. But before I read Rich's statement, I'd like to talk a little bit about Rybrook Together. The reason being is that the bench and the plaque were donated by Rybrook Together. And I think that many of you don't know what Rybrook Together is, and actually people who are part of Rybrook Together, we don't know what it is either. It's just a lot of fun. But I'll just give you a little introductory about Rybrook Together. It was formed in 2004, and it is a non-political group of individuals throughout the community who believe in forward-thinking, fiscally responsible leadership that will build consensus and a sense of community throughout Rybrook. What does that really mean? Well, it really means that Rybrook Together is a group of 12 to 15 individuals who love this village, and I underline love this village. We sit around a dining room table about 3 to 4 times a year, enjoying coffee, snacks, good company, and discussing what is going on in this great village and how to enhance the quality of life in Rybrook. Ken was our first chair. He was a founder of Rybrook Together, and Ken was the glue that held RBT together. Aline and Ken were the ones who always hosted the meetings, and as David said before, fed us. There were lots of laughs. We just always had a good time. It's really an organization of friends who care about this village and each other. It was so fitting that Ken was the first chair, since he was the consummate community activist and engaged in a myriad of activities that were announced by both Mayor Rosenberg and Trustee Heiser. Ken was a big teddy bear. He was loving, caring, compassionate, and he possessed the biggest heart of all. All of these attributes were instilled in his daughter, Andrea. Andrea touched all those who knew her with her caring, her warmth, her generosity, and a sense of humor. And as they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So that is my introductory statement. And now I'm going to proceed to read what Rich Gutner wrote. Good morning. I am sorry I cannot be here in person to read this myself, but a family issue came up and I had to go upstate. Thank you to Joan for stepping in and reading this for me. As chairman of Rybrook Together, I want to thank you all for attending Arbor Day. Today we are here to honor a dear friend and his daughter and to dedicate this bench and plaque in honor of 2 wonderful individuals. As you all know, Ken was a founding member of Rybrook Together, and he was also the chairperson. But Ken was a founding member to many of the organizations that make up Rybrook. I know there is not one group that was not touched by Ken. I will not go into detail about each organization that he was involved with because the list is too long. I always knew when Ken was around by the sound of one of the engines of his cars in the morning while he was warming one of them up before heading out to work. And now I will be sitting on the front step, knowing when there is a breeze that Ken is around, making the same noise. I know that from now on, Ken and Andrea will be looking upon the park when a mother and father are sitting on this bench, watching their children play on the swings, and enjoying all that this park has to offer. I know that the Bergman family love this park and continue to love this park, especially when Alex, their granddaughter, is visiting and she only wants to play on the swings and the slide in this park. I hope this bench, plaque, and tree will bring joy to Aline, Jill, and Alex, and that they will know that Ken and Andrea are now part of this park and will be so for many years to come. Thank you. And last but not least, the Dunkin' Donuts group has asked me to officially give this cup to, it's been actually signed by all the members of the Dunkin' Donuts group to give this to Aline. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Feinstein. Next up, we have Peter Mizell, who is Ken's business partner and friend for a very long time.
Good morning. Thank you, Aline, for including me in today's festivities and celebration. As you all know, it's been a very long 16 to 18-month period for Aline and Jillian and Alex. And today is a part of the healing and a part of the closure. And today's a celebration. It's a celebration of two people who absolutely epitomized hope. I think Arbor Day is a sign of hope, spring coming after what we all know is a very long winter. And when I think of Ken and I think of Andrea, I think of two children at heart. As Kenny's partner, I would often go into his office and look at this playroom. My children at the time were ages 12 and 9 when they first started coming in, and they would look around and see the Corgi cars and the sports memorabilia and the Fazzino paintings and look at us and say, really, is this the place where you come to work? And in the case of Andrea, the fruit truly doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, this was a girl who was a child at heart and had a great joie de vivre and a great spirit that is something I know I sorely am going to miss. But in summation, I just want to thank Aline for including us, for her time and her services provided to the community. The loss of Ken and Andrea has been very profound and something I will live with the rest of my life. There isn't a day that goes by, particularly at work, where I don't think of Ken. I have the desire to pick up the phone and reach out to Ken. And, he's with us today in spirit and will be with us forever. Thank you very much.
And last but certainly not least, we have State Senator George Latimer.
I remember the last time I saw Ken. And it was, in fact, at Dunkin' Donuts. If you look at my waistline, you probably expect that I was there when Ken wasn't there, too. But I remember the day very well. And Ken was sitting with his back to the side window. And in the morning, at the front window, the sun streams in. So he was sitting with sunglasses, and I was kind of blinded a little bit by the glare. Monroe Haas was sitting next to me, Alan Saltzman. Rick Busen was there that day. And it was a day like any other. I had no idea of the significance. Giannis Richards was there. I had no idea of the significance that this was going to be the last time I would ever speak to Ken. And if you don't know that it's the last time you're going to speak to somebody, you don't necessarily say profound things. You just talk, as two people would talk, 3 or 4 or 5 people would talk. And he was talking at the time about the food programs, the soup kitchens. There are a couple here in Portchester, the Grace Church and so forth. And it made me promise that I would come, and I agreed I would come. And I didn't realize that when I finally followed through on that promise that he wouldn't come. And I think of all the things that he's done, and I know a fraction of what other people in this gathering know about him, and all of the different things that he meant to us. And there are times when each of us wonder, and the older you get, you wonder it more, do our lives really make any difference? Does it really mean anything, the things we do, the time and energy we spend, not just those who are, in my case, serve in public office, but those who donate their time and energy in any direction? You realize that life is short, and sometimes surprisingly short. And when you think of Andrea, unfairly short by whatever us humans process. I'll leave it to Rabbi Alpert and our clergy to try to help us put it into some kind of a philosophical or theological context. That's too big for a hack politician to figure out. But I do know one thing, and I do know that individual lives matter. Andrea Berman's life mattered, however short it was. Ken Berman's life mattered. I'm not going to see him at the Dunkin' Donuts again, and we have a tree now to remember, and a plaque to remember them by. But when our own time comes, and it will come for each of us someday, I wonder and I hope if I could have the same sense of satisfaction that Ken had because of all the lives that Ken touched and Andrea touched. All of the people here today that have their own unique remembrances of them. You've heard some of them humorous and serious and sad and sobering, because really that's all we have here. We do what we can do while we're here. We do good, and Ken did good, and Andrea did good. And those of us who remain try to remember in as permanent a way as we know how that Andrea Berman actually lived, and she was loved, and we loved her, and that Ken Berman lived and was loved.
Thank you, George. We're very lucky to have on staff a certified arborist, and that's Michael Nowak. Michael takes great care of the trees in Rye Brook, working very closely with our phenomenal parks and highway staff. So you guys all do a great job. And I'm going to ask Michael to come up and say a few words and describe why this tree was selected. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you for coming here to Pine Ridge Park. I would like to say thank you to the Highway Department and the Parks Department. Every year they always do a great job in helping us. I'm coming at this from a different perspective. I never knew the Bermans. In the 10 years I'm here with the village, I never really worked with them. So this to me was a challenge. Arbor Day for us in the village becomes a challenge, becomes a game where we try to select a tree that matches the person we are remembering. And this year was really, really a challenge because I didn't have much to go by. But as I stand here, hearing other people speak, two things come to mind. First words that come back are that the Bermans always gave back to the community. The other words are that they were a foundation in the community as well. So today we have here both of those concepts for other people to utilize. We have a tree that will give back to the community. We have a bench that will one day foster and be a foundation for children to come here and sit and have a good time and grow. This year we selected a Japanese lilac. Ivory silk is the variety. Why we chose it is because it is a ornamental tree. In the springtime, just like the Bermans in their lifetime, it will flower. It will give a beautiful showing, just like what the Bermans did during their lifetime. They flowered in their life. And hearing all these people speak, they flowered tremendously. And the Japanese lilac is a tree that will do the same for years to come. And that was the driving force on why we selected this tree. It's a tree that will be here throughout the years. Like the Bermans, in all their achievements, it will grow and it will give back to the community. So I really thank everybody for being here, and we will embrace this tree, and we will look forward to seeing it to grow, and hopefully in a couple of weeks it will bloom and flower. So thank you, everybody, and please do stop back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I also want to recognize here Rabbi Jamie Alpert is here, and Sister Alice Conrad is here, who was so gracious as to donate the tree. Also, I want to repeat what Michael said. You know, it's such a beautiful spring day. the Parks Department and the Highway Department, they take such great care of Rybrook. They had such a horrible winter to deal with, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of them who were here. But I rode in a plow with them this winter. I know how tough it is. It is not an easy job, and they make this place look fantastic, so I just wanted to say thank you. What I'd like to do now is we have a village proclamation that I'd like to present for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the village, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of inspiration and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Paul S. Rosenberg, Mayor of the Village of Rybrook, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 25th, 2014 as Arbor Day in the Village of Rybrook, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And be it further resolved that on this Arbor Day, the Village of Rybrook is proud to honor Kenneth and Andrea Lynn Berman, whose lasting impact on so many lives of the residents of the Rybrook community and the entire region will be remembered by all, planting an ivory silk Japanese lilac tree and installing a new playground bench in Pine Ridge Park in their loving memory. And if I could have a moment of silence, I'd also like to announce, in addition to Ken and Andrea Lynn, today is the 3rd anniversary of the death of another Rybrook Together member, Madeline Rand. And I'd like to have a moment of silence to memorialize those 3 people. Thank you.
Now we're going to have a ceremonial planting of the tree. So we have a few people come up and help us with. Aline, can you come up? Joan, anyone who came up to speak today maybe would help us have a ceremony. This is a picture opportunity. Yeah. Please just take put a little scoop of mulch in it, and it'll just kind of get around the tree for a second, if you don't mind. Behind the back of it. That concludes the ceremonies for this morning. Thank you all for coming out. If anybody would like to hang out for a little while, we do have some coffee and donuts. Please help yourself. Thank you.